bring in Peter Schrager, co-host of the NFL Network's Good Morning Football, FoxSports.com senior national writer. You remember where you were on the Tuck Rule?
College dorm, Emory University. Saturday night game, had the Raiders winning that one. Greg Beekert did too. Tyrone Wheatley did as well. I still think I know exactly where I was for that one. Dan, where were you?
Any girls in the dorm?
No, come on, me? No. Nothing. Me flipping through football cards and playing Stratomatic baseball. That was me in college, my friend.
Ooh, I was a big Stratomatic guy. We would play usually at Sports Center. After Sports Center, I'd stay, and Gary Miller and we would play Stratomatic baseball, and it was awesome. Loved it.
It's the best.
Yeah. I would rather have had girls in the dorm room when I was in college, but, Stratomatic, I guess, that filled the void there for you.
You want me to lie to you? I can lie to you. I can be honest.
You're a journalist. You're a journalist here. Make a case. I want you to defend Cliff Kingsbury.
Okay.
Can you?
All right. Yeah, sure.
Okay.
I told you back in August the Cardinals are going to make the playoffs. I think you'd say that's a pretty good season. If I was going to tell you back in August that they were going to get embarrassed in the playoffs, you might say that's no good. I thought Kyler had his worst game as a pro. I think this team got absolutely embarrassed. But who are you replacing Cliff Kingsbury with in that situation? Would you rather have another coach and think that that's going to get a different outcome? That team had no shot on Monday night. So my defense of Kingsbury is that that was Kyler's worst game. They were without DeAndre Hopkins, and they got blown out from go. I don't think that was an issue of preparation. I think they played that game 10 times with what was on the field and how that game went. The Rams are going to win. I've seen a lot of coaches lose, and here's the deal. If Cliff Kingsbury was to be blown out, or if he was to be fired, which he very well may could be, I think there would be a line of NFL teams that would hire him as an offensive coordinator, and I think there would be a line twice as long of college teams that would hire him as a head coach. So my defense of it is first playoff game, they got blown out. Quarterback was awful. Team was awful. Everything was awful. I don't think you've got to, go say, hey, we need a new coach, and that's why we lost.
Defend Mike McCarthy.
That's a little tougher.
Okay.
It's a little tougher. I think the amount of quality wins that the Cardinals had this season were lengthy. They won big games against San Francisco and won big games against the Rams. They went into Dallas. I picked the Niners to win this game, Dan, beforehand, and I got a lot of slack because I was very cocksure about it. And everywhere I went was like, I don't see how the Cowboys lose. I certainly don't see how Mike McCarthy outcoaches Kyle Shanahan in the clutch. And in the clutch, and the moments mattered most, we have that play at the end. And I also look at the fake punt situation where, like, all season long, it felt like there was an ongoing verbal spat going on, whether they get along or not, and I'm sure they do, between Mike McCarthy and Fossil, the special teams coach, on the sidelines in real time. And there was always something going on. And so to get the penalty right after the fake punt just never felt like the Cowboys were as buttoned up. And when you get 14 penalties, that is something I could point to the coach and say, hey, it's been plaguing them all season, 127 penalties all year. Like, at no point was it ever cleaned up. And when they needed the wins the most, against the Raiders on Thanksgiving, loss. Against the Cardinals in that big game in Week 16, loss. And then you get another home game. Here we go. Dak just threw 5 touchdowns against the zombie Eagles last week, and we celebrated that performance. And they're down by 23-7, have to claw back and then have that play at the end. I just never felt like this team was as disciplined as you'd like to see. And I think Mike should come back. I think he should get another shot. This was great second year, and we know how those things go. In year 3, I think they'll be much better, but they have to clean up the penalties.
But who would have thought that their offensive line would be one of their problems? Because it used to be one of their strong points. That offensive line was not good at all against San Francisco.
No, it wasn't. And I think the pressure was on throughout, and that was even without Bosa and Warner for the second half. Here's what I would also point to. Deebo Samuel touched the ball every time they can get it to him, and they went and had him in the backfield, had him at wide receiver. Deebo was, everyone in the building knew Deebo is how the Niners are going to beat the Cowboys, and that's exactly what happened. CeeDee Lamb got one touch, got one catch, and then he had the offside, the false start. It's like, I know everyone's taking apart the Cowboys. I look at that and say, how do you not game plan a way to get CeeDee Lamb the ball as many times as you can? If they could do it with Deebo Samuel and you could find a way to get him in the backfield or use him in a bubble screen, but you shouldn't be going to Dalton Schultz and Cedric Wilson in the big moments that matter the most. I could critique this game a million ways. I think if the Cowboys had won, we would be an entirely different NFL media this week. It would be Cowboys, mayhem. There'd be so much juice. There still is a lot of juice, but the fact they lost in such a deflating way, I don't know. It just doesn't feel the same as it would have been had they won.
I know you have the Rams and the Chiefs in the Super Bowl. Does that sound right?
Yeah, September. That was my pick before the season.
Yeah, I have Packers and the Chiefs. You need a do-over, or you comfortable with Rams-Chiefs?
I've been asked to do do-overs when the Rams lost 3 straight. When the Chiefs lost, no, I'm staying in there. And I think the Rams saved their best game for that Monday night game. They dismantled the Cardinals. And I know yesterday people were like, well, Stafford didn't have to do much. Stafford went, 13 to 17, looked dialed in, 200 yards, looks perfect to me. I think that they're ready to take on the Bucs, and they've beaten them twice in the last 2 years, and I know McVay's not scared of going into that building. I feel like the Rams might beat the Bucs this weekend.
He's Peter Schrager, co-host of, no, you got to be a little bit more emphatic than they might be. Now, of course, they can beat them.
How about this? We're doing this on Wednesday. The Rams, I might favor the Rams. I'm not making a pick yet. Honestly, I'm being dead serious with you. I got to see if Tristan Wirfs is out there. I got to see if Ryan Jensen's out there. A lot of us, we will make bold predictions, and it's not even that bold. It's a 3-point game. It's not crazy. But I honestly don't know if the Rams win if Leonard Fournette's in there and if their 2 offensive linemen are in there. So I need to see the health status. I know that's taking the easy way out on a Wednesday.
Better story if the Bills advance or the Chiefs advance?
Ooh. Better story, I think, is the Bills. And it's like I think it's about Josh Allen, really, and how he's had to chip away year after year after year, and then this is the team that got the best of them last year and kept them away. I think it's the Bills. I think last week they finally buried, one big dragon master that they've had to deal with, and that's the Patriots for 20 years in their division, and the Chiefs have gotten the best of them in the playoffs last year in Arrowhead. I think if the Bills are I was thinking about Los Angeles for the Super Bowl. If either one of these two fan bases do go on and beat the AFC championship game contender from the Titans-Bengals, I think it would be really cool. I think you're going to see a lot of Bills fans travel to Los Angeles. It's a warm weather city, and it's not going to be like a small market team. I feel like Bills fans come out, and then, of course, the Chiefs fans show up wherever they go. So I think both of these teams are great stories. Obviously, the Mahomes storyline, and, hey, we're not done yet. But I think Buffalo, this is kind of feeling like a destiny miracle season. And if they get there to the Super Bowl in Los Angeles, that's pretty cool.
Let's look at the options for the Steelers to replace Ben Roethlisberger. Oh, by the way, T.J. Watt was with us yesterday. He said, I still don't know if he's retiring. He never told us anything, but let's assume Ben is done. So if you're Mike Tomlin, what's plan A?
I've heard a lot of rumors, and I don't think draft is the way to go with this veteran locker room with the Minkas and with the Watts and with Cam Hayward. I'm not sure they're going to defend the reins to a rookie. I don't know if Haskins has shown enough this year, and I certainly don't think Mason Rudolph has in the past few years. So I would look at a veteran quarterback. I really would, and I'm not saying it's necessarily Rodgers or Wilson, but there is that next tier, and you're looking at names who might be available. And it could be Garoppolo. It could be Cousins. It could be Jameis Winston. It could be a lot of names, but I think I would look at that it could be that, it could be Cousins or Garoppolo, as I said, but it also could be guys that are maybe younger, and it's a Trubisky type or someone like that hasn't had that opportunity to ever, start this season, but is still laying in the weeds and waiting to go. So I look at all the veteran quarterbacks, but I don't know if they're going to be able to land a Russell or an Aaron Rodgers or Deshaun Watson.
Wow. Well, I wonder how this all plays out, but it feels like if Rodgers leaves, they're going to make sure he goes to an AFC team. If Russell leaves, they're going to make sure he goes to an AFC team. You think that sounds logical?
Sounds about right to me. It doesn't look like they want to face either one of those guys in the playoffs from those sides. I'm feeling more and more that Rodgers and Wilson, who, if you asked me week 10, which teams are they going for? We could do the whole Denver and Carolina and Miami conversation. More and more, I'm not sure either one of those guys is gone just yet. And I think we're going to have to see how the next few weeks play out. Remember, Russell said what he said on your show last year around Super Bowl week, I think it was, and that's when this whole thing started. Ken Norton was fired yesterday. I'd keep an eye on what's going on in Seattle the next few weeks, because when he tells you that they're plugged into Seattle, that might have been the case when Paul Allen was in charge and Pete Carroll was infallible and all this stuff. Like, no one talks to Jody Allen, the owner, right now. She's the sister of a Paul Allen, and she's running the show right now. And whether there have been conversations with Pete and John Schneider and all those guys and Russell, that she's been having. I don't think the media is plugged into that. So I'd say let's give it a couple of weeks here before we immediately assume Russell's going or staying.
You know, as somebody who gathers information, how often do you question the person who's giving you that information as to why they're giving you that information?
I think I'm pretty good hit rate. I know I've had a couple misses, but I would like to think that I'm not one who's easily led down the wrong road for personal benefit, because that'll burn me forever. I don't think I'm going anywhere. And if you burn me, I'm pretty clean with it that, hey, I don't want to hear from you. Now, the stuff that I get a lot of smoke screens with is the NFL draft, and that's kind of understandable. That, hey, we're not going to mention this guy when we talk to you about who we like, and then they end up taking him. I'm like, hey, you didn't mention him. Yeah, because we wanted him. But this kind of stuff where it's coaches being fired and coaches getting hired, I think everyone's pretty spot on with me, and I usually am pretty accurate.
Well, it's like I got roughed up by a guy with the NFL Network when I'd mentioned nobody was interested in Carson Wentz and nobody was calling the Eagles, and that person's Philadelphia-based, so probably wants to play nice with the Eagles, even though we know Carson Wentz, nobody wanted Carson Wentz other than, it was the Colts, and that was about it. I don't even know if the Colts still want him, Pete.
Yeah, and you saw what Chris Ballard, their GM, had to say. It wasn't a rousing, hey, we love, but hey, they're tied onto him now for 3 more years. They'd have to do some really, really creative. And to your point, I think after this year, after another year of it and him not delivering in the final 2 weeks of the season, I really don't know if there's a market for Carson Wentz, especially at the salary that he has.
All right, 3 defenders all time from any teams. Now, any position. You could have 3 from whatever generation you want, but tell me who and why you would have.
All right, can I give a question though? Am I taking any player from any individual season, or is it the breadth of their career? Because there are guys that had great seasons individually that I would say I can't say in good faith I would take the career, or are you saying just take any 3
you have to,
overall?
You get them their entire career. They stay healthy their entire career.
I'm going right across my defensive line, and this is no disrespect to Champ Bailey or Dion or Lawrence Taylor or Derek Thomas, but I'm going Bruce Smith on one end, I'm going Aaron Donald in the middle, and I'm going Reggie White right next to him.
All you need is a 3-man rush in a situation like that, Peter.
Good luck. Good luck getting a pass off with those 3.
It doesn't
Donald push it from the inside, Reggie inside or outside, and then Bruce Smith, who I think is criminally underrated when we talk about great defensive players. Like, everyone brings up LT and everyone brings up Reggie, but like Bruce Smith and Derek Thomas were right up there with those guys every single season in the same generation.
It doesn't matter who my secondary is if I've got those 3 guys up front.
So you pick. Danetz can be at secondary. We're good. We'll roll with that.
Yeah, having seen Lawrence Taylor in his prime, and just the image of watching him play, what he did and how teams game. I don't know if teams game plan for a defensive player like they did in Lawrence Taylor. He changed the NFL. I don't know how many other defensive players you can say he changed the NFL, but the way tight ends, what Joe Gibbs did, you got to have another guy, you got to chip, you got to tight ends, got to help the tackle. Like Lawrence Taylor changed the game with his style.
And the accolades are there. When you talk about the Defensive Player of the Year as a rookie, you talk about an MVP from the defensive spot, 1986, the only player to do it in the last 3 or 4 decades. I will be honest, though, and it's not that I'm biased. Like I told you, I was in college during the Tuck Rule game, so do the math. I just missed peak LT. I got 1990 LT where he has the big strip of Roger Craig, and the Giants are a great team. I got that the later stages of watching in person Reggie White dismantle offensive lines, and then watching what Aaron Donald does in the real time, and then knowing that over 20 years, Bruce Smith compiled all those sacks and just dominated week in, week out. I'm going with those 3, and it's nothing against LT. I wasn't alive, and I wasn't watching when he was doing what he was doing in the early 80s.
Give me the surprise result this weekend.
The surprise result, I think, is San Francisco potentially going in there and bullying the Packers around. I'm not sure if I'm picking them yet, but I know Kyle Shanahan by no means is scared of coaching staff of Matt LaFleur, Joe Barry, and Nathaniel Hackett, 3 guys he's worked with before, and they have gotten the best of Rodgers in playoff games in the past. I would not be surprised if this was one of those where San Francisco comes in and it's a low-scoring game, and Rodgers has to pull a rabbit out of his hat, and Bosa or Warner makes a play if they're healthy, and they get it done.
What do you think the fallout would be if the Packers lost this weekend?
Tune in on Monday. I don't know. Sometimes when the world is burning, it's good for ratings. So I don't know. Let's see. We'll just watch.
Thank you, buddy. Great to talk to you.
Yeah, man.
Thank you. That's Peter Schrager, co-host of NFL Network's Good Morning Football. You can follow Peter at @PShregs. The show airs Monday through Friday at 7 a.m. Eastern.